mentioned the issue with snapping the football, and that goes back to one particular person. And Juergens had his issues there in the first half, and it's just and I hate to single out one guy, but they are just practically drive killers. When you got that one play that creates that kind of negative yardage on one play, it pretty much kills the drive 90% of the time. It's, from a probability standpoint, almost impossible to overcome a 2nd and 29, for example. That was one of the incidents. So was that particular position addressed in regards to any changes?
Yeah, Coach Frost has been asked about it. But you're absolutely right. They're a very nice looking drive, and then all of a sudden, that snap goes over Martinez's head, and it's over after that. Just the momentum just gets crushed. But Coach Frost, he stands by his guy right now. When he was asked about Cam, he pretty much said that the reason that he's in there is because his explosiveness and his power coming out of that position and his athletic ability, it just makes them a better team. Now, it doesn't make them a better team when the snaps are going over the quarterback's head, for sure, and it just disrupts everything. And we saw this with him early last year. He got it fixed. So it's so difficult to put a finger on exactly why he's having these problems, but you got to stick with it. You got to keep getting reps. You got to keep getting game reps, and sooner or later, it's going to have to start working. It's going to click sooner or later because I know Cam. I know him well. I've covered him since he was a 9th grader, and he's a tremendous athlete, and he's a proud guy, and he'll get it fixed. And he feels worse about it than anybody does. It's just something that's going to take time to work out.
So, Greg, we had a departure or two this week. I'm looking for the list here. Maybe you can help me out in regards to who announced their departures from the program.
Defensive back Ronald Delancey was the first one. And then here the other day, wide receiver Marcus Fleming parted ways with the program as well. So, a little bit of discontent going on there. Guys just not having a fit, apparently. I think, Delancey actually had tweeted out, a tweet that he probably shouldn't have sent out, being critical about the Illinois game and pointing out that some of the young guys needed to get out there and get some playing time. And so I think that might have been a mutual deal there. And Marcus Fleming, who knows what's going on there. If you asked me, it's probably a playing time thing. And I mean, he was getting playing time, but it's so hard in this day and age. You don't want to have to blame something like a COVID thing, but this guy, he came a long way here. And there's really, right now, there's nothing to do. You're stuck with your teammates 24/7. You can't go out. You can't go have a good time. The town is dead right now. So really, it's a very weird situation that we're dealing with here. And, maybe he just needs to be closer to home. And, it's just something that it's hard to put a finger on. And, only Coach Frost and his coaching staff really know what was going on there. So, a couple of those guys there. And, I see Navy Thomas there was commenting about a lot of these Florida guys. And, it really has been kind of a problem. I mean, because Nebraska has recruited the state of Florida really well. the last few years under Coach Frost. 2018 they had 6 commitments from the state of Florida. 2019 they didn't have any, but then in 2020 they had 7. Out of those 13 commits from the state of Florida, there are 3 on the team still. Cornerback Braxton Clark, defensive back Taman Lynham, and running back Marvin Scott. So, you're a lot of high ranked kids leaving the program. Going back to 2018, Miles Jones, CJ Smith, Dominic Watt, Justin McGriff, Willie Canty. Those are all guys that a lot of them went the JUCO route. And then from last year's class, Marcus Fleming, like I just mentioned, he's the latest one to go. Our cornerback Francois, safety Henry Gray, linebacker Keyshawn Green, and then Ronald Delancey, like I mentioned. So, yeah, the state of Florida, it's just right now, you're trying to recruit high athletic guys, and high character guys. And, it's sometimes you miss on these guys. So it's just, it's hard to point a finger on that too. And you just got to keep on recruiting guys, and you hope that you can keep them around. Like I said, it's just a strange year now because it's just not a normal season. It's not a normal college year for a student athlete. So it's just hard to put a finger on it right now.
Marcus Fleming was the 44th rated wide receiver in the country, number 42 player out of Florida, out of Northwestern High School out of Miami. So I'll leave it up to Zach and to Chris in regards to basically taking this 2 different directions, what these losses mean in terms of these players being major contributors potentially, and what the void is. And then number 2, if there's some kind of indication as to what this means. So to take it a step further, if I hear from my Florida-based media people that come on here, they basically will tell you any kid that grew up in Florida, South Florida, shouldn't be going to Nebraska. This is going to be a trend that they're going to go to Nebraska. They're not going to like it. They're not going to be able to acclimate themselves to it. So why go up there? So we're going to see this as a trend.
Yeah. And you know what, like the more I look into it, I think the day and age of college football is just a lot different. I mean, kids are very indecisive. They're moving on a lot. You don't play one year, and a lot of kids just aren't gutting it out as much. So I think part of it has to deal with that, and part of it does have to deal with the distance. So it's finding that balance. Scott Frost still trying to create that culture inside and that winning culture at Nebraska. And when you're dealing with the winning culture, you're also trying to get those high recruits. But like Greg mentioned, it's about character too, trying to find the guys with the right character that will fit in, be team guys. A guy like Adrian Martinez, having those guys around is important. So it's finding that balance in recruiting, and it's so hard with the transfers nowadays, but it's something you just have to deal with. And as they always say, winning helps. So we'll see exactly what happens with that.
Well, I wanted to, add to that too, because I agree 100%. And, they haven't won the last 2 years, and that is hard. I mean, for an 18-year-old kid that's coming from, he's a star of his team, and his team was probably pretty good, was in the state playoffs, and they're not used to losing. And it's hard to lose. It's hard when you're on a team that's not winning. And, like I said, you don't have anything to do. Now, I've been around this coaching staff plenty when they're down in the state of Florida. We travel with the coaching staff when we go out and cover camps and stuff like that. And their presence down in the state of Florida it's heavy. They know about these guys. And there's a lot of Nebraska people down in the state of Florida. A lot of people steer kids towards Nebraska. So, I mean, it's not as hard to get a kid out of Florida as you think. Now, that's, once you do get them here, it just depends on what kind of a kid they are when they get here and how they kind of fit into the culture, because it is quite a bit of a culture shock. But if you look at some guys that are very successful, and DiCaprio Boodle, he's a Miami kid. He'd go to the wall for Nebraska. He goes back home and he tries to recruit every single kid. His little brother, I think, is a junior in high school, and they're always talking Nebraska up. So, it's just a matter of fact of getting these guys once they get here to keep them here, to get them involved and get them to like what's going on here. And winning is definitely going to help that out.
You can recruit these guys and get them here, and there's definitely a culture shock. And I think you got to think about Coach Frost and his philosophy too. I mean, it's hard work. When you come in, you got to work to play, and you got to, like he says, block to get the rock. So, and it's other things too that's behind the scenes. Are you going to class? Are you showing up to team meetings? Are you punctual? And I mean, if you're not, you're probably not going to play. And it's got to be hard for a guy maybe like Fleming, who is probably more talented than this walk-on kid that's out there getting passes thrown to him. It's got to be hard for him to see that and to know, like, I'm more talented than this guy, and coach isn't playing me. And it's because I'm not doing these different things. And if he doesn't want to, like you said, gut it out, then maybe just leaving is easier in his mind. But going back to kind of the earlier question, what does this mean? Especially at talent positions like wide receiver, Nebraska needs this depth, and they need experience in these positions to develop some type of pass game. There's just been so many talent positions, skill positions over the year that have lost guys. Like you think of Mo Washington, Tyjon Lindsey, these guys that are supposed to come in and supposed to do big things, and they're just gone for one reason or another. So Nebraska's got to find a way to keep these highly rated skill position guys around to create some offense down the road.